Paul Novotny.
Yes, sir.
This is amazing. This is something that's been a passion of yours, and you've tried to explain to me on many occasions what Dolby Atmos is.
Yes.
There is Dolby Atmos that you can mix in, and then there's Dolby Atmos for mastering.
Yeah.
Is that a different thing, or is that pretty much the same?
Well, mastering will basically prepare the Dolby Atmos recording for audience reception.
Okay.
And so mastering in Atmos functions in a very similar way that it does to stereo recording. So it's really preparing the final delivery so that the audience can have its very best sort of listening experience.
Now it's called immersive listening.
Immersive audio is really what it is. Three-dimensional.
Okay, and this is achieved. Is it achieved by panning, or how is this achieved? That you hear it above your head,
Yeah,
around you.
yeah. Well, let's think of it this way. There's a term called two-dimensional and the other term three-dimensional.
Okay.
All of our stereo recording has been two-dimensional. Mono recording is one-dimensional.
Okay.
Stereo is two-dimensional. And with Dolby Atmos, now we have the ability for three-dimensional expression of sound. So we have a standard plane of speakers that surround us at ear level, and there's 7 of those. There is a subwoofer on the floor, which gives you your low frequency effects. And in this studio, we have 4 height speakers. So we have the left and the right top fronts, and we have the left and the right rears, which are up here.
Okay, all right.
So you literally are sitting in a sound box, if you will. There's sound that can come from all around you. And yes, panning is how we do it. And essentially, all instruments become audio objects, and you can place them anywhere in the 3D sound box.
That's amazing. Now, when you say 7, what are you meaning by 7?
7 is the 7 channels that are at our ear level. So you would have the center dialogue.
Okay.
You'd have the left and the right front, which is the traditional stereo, left and right. But with Atmos, we add a left side, which is right beside your shoulders, and a right side.
That's it. Are these the speakers here?
That's right. Okay. And then we also have a far left rear, which is way back there, and a far right rear, which is way back here, like this. Right. So literally sounds can now rotate around you, which that's just not possible in 2D audio.
Okay.
You actually sense the music like you are in the middle of it.
Now, how would you mix to this?
Well, we have a lot of creator tools that basically allow us to do this. It's very similar to stereo, but really when you remove audio from the front wall of stereo and you pull it out like this, what you do is all of a sudden the masking that happens in stereo. Like, think of it this way. Every sound is shoulder to shoulder, standing, in a claustrophobic sort of playback space. But all of a sudden, when we're dealing with 3D audio, all of those individual objects and instruments can come out from the 2D sphere and have spatiality all around you. So all the tools are very similar to stereo, but what changes is we don't really need to use compression as much as we had to.
Now, what's the difference between this and surround sound?
Surround sound traditionally refers to a 5.17, which is 5 speakers.
This is a 7 setup.
And this is a 7.1.4, and the 0.4 is the ceiling.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's what it is, 7.1.4. And there are other formats where you can go to 9.1.4 or 9.1.6. But this is the interesting thing for the music business. It's basically been decided that 7.1.4 is going to be the archival format for the future of all recordings for record labels and everything. That is how sound is going to be archived.
And the labels are going to this now?
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a while everybody was really suspicious of this, or
Yeah, well, there's an awful lot of industry play here with regards to Dolby, Apple, Tidal, Universal Music, Warner. Everybody has realized that music now has to be in spatial to future-proof it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of labels are going back into their back catalog, pulling out multi-tracks, and they're adapting them and re-releasing them in spatial. So it really... 5.1 never really caught on because oftentimes people couldn't get primarily great locations for their speakers in the dining room or the living room or whatever. Now we are perceiving this through headphones. Binaurally, we're able to hear spatiality through headphones, which is unbelievable that they can do this. And that is improving. But to mix, your question was, how do you mix for this? A great mix studio still has to have speakers because there is a little bit of interplay or crossfeed in the room that's essential to get a good Atmos mix.
I saw this 3D immersive. It was a film of the Impressionist.
Yes.
All right. It was at the New Yorker, and the paintings come to life. Of Matisse.
Yeah.
Just the greats, and they would float out to you.
Yeah.
Right. And you're still wearing 3D glasses, but
yeah,
it was that next step.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, no, the average person is not going to get this experience.
Yeah.
And the whole thing didn't do that well. But to be there was amazing because the paintings not only floated out to you, they had movement.
Yeah.
So if you're Renoir and you see that on the streets of Paris, that painting from the early 1900s comes to life, in late 1800s.
Yeah.
The people look like they're engaging.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I imagine these are all the technologies, and with Atmos, it's the same thing. You're moving in this other generation or this other world where everything comes to life. It's not just straight in front of you.
Yeah, I think one of the most sort of intoxicating things about the format is how it relates to our sensory systems of biological sensory perception.
Okay.
Our eyes are only able to see here, right? We've got a limitation to our horizon, but our ears are able to hear all around, and they're primarily our main defense mechanism, and the hearing, once you understand how to mix for Atmos, it involves understanding the human auditory system, meaning that our ears, these are called the pinna, or the one is the pinna, two are the pinnae. The bottom line is our ears have a hypersensitivity to high frequencies at the upper peaks of our ears.
Okay.
And so this is important to know because we've got height speakers now. So when I work with a set of drums, for example, we know that we're going to have the low thud of the kick in the LFE, but we're also going to place it in the center with the snare. This is the Bob Clearmountain style, where he really, really relies on that center speaker. But the thing that's so cool is you can actually take the overheads of the cymbals and elevate them.
So they sound like they're overheads.
It gives you this expanse that is like this now, and it's also like this, but it also goes behind. In stereo, reverbs always had the sensation of going that way. So the direct sound is here, but the reverb goes forward. So that gives you the sense of distance. But now reverb can come this way, and it can go behind you.
All right.
So once we understand that the hearing system responds in these ways, our sensory systems. When you hear this, because I haven't yet played you anything,
I'm not ready.
But when you hear this, I mean, there have been a lot of people that have sat in this chair since I've implemented the system, and the most common response is that this is the most naturally recorded expression of music that I've ever heard. Okay. It's natural. So there's not a genre that doesn't benefit from it. I mean, I've got examples on a playlist that I've been putting together for 6 months, what I consider to be the most compelling examples of Dolby Atmos music. I mean, I've got hip hop, I've got orchestral music, I've got jazz, every genre, African music, and there's great music coming out of from all parts of the world now that is in 3D, and the practitioners are getting a lot better at it. Like what I'm saying here is, it's a brand new way to hear music. Many people think that we only have two ears and two speakers, and that's the end of the story.
Right.
But that's not the case, because ever since we came out of the womb, we've been hearing sound in 3D.
Yeah.
You go into a room and you hear sound from everywhere. All this is now is the ability through speakers to express that in very, very new creative ways. So with any new format, it takes time for operations, for software, for the ability for the audience to adapt and to new methods. These new methods of hearing and creating take time to crystallize. And so we're at a very, very new stage for Atmos. It only started in 2012 with the film Brave. And only in 2017 was the very first piece of music mixed in Dolby Atmos.
And this will be this will be a mainstay for films anyway.
Oh yeah.
Where you're in the auditorium, you have to listen. Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Let me just sit and you put it up,
Okay.
and I'll sit in the seat.